How about I hold it up there and see if Donnie can see it.
Oh, yeah, I think.
Going on, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Good to see you. Staying out of trouble?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that makes one of us.
One day at a time.
I can see that very well.
Okay. We'll get that hung tomorrow. Hmm? Oh, no worries. It's fine.
Good, how are you?
When we first finished the building, Alicia ordered a clock, and she handed it to me, and went back and hang it up, and I got it in here. And it wasn't battery operated, it had a cord. I did not. Because my phone's over here.
Did I hear about Elizabeth?
Yes.
She's going to be a potato farmer.
In Arizona. There's an exciting life for you. In Arizona.
I must have missed that part of the Kenny's story. I'm like,
That's a weird big money. Potato farmer.
Yes. I'm gonna let Donnie be.
Not today anymore.
Like to be sweet.
To who?
Me.
Oh.
And I
Can't be mean. She's about payrolled out today.
Okay.
Unfortunately, our process we're having to use right now is very labor intensive for her. I hate that. It just is what it is. But I think if we haven't shown anything else, we can take on any challenge and persevere through it. We will figure out a workaround. That's our way.
That's good.
That's how it's got to be, right?
Hey.
And I am glad Ed's here tonight, just in case you guys have any questions about these resolutions.
It was great being with everybody, cause you know, we don't get to see our boys.
And you weren't here last month, so you didn't get to be a part of that vote on the vehicles, so you'll get caught up tonight. All the things. I don't know how you're
Good, good, good. Good to see you too. Good to see you.
How's everything? How's your family?
Busy? Always? Never ends?
Daughters doing better?
Yes.
Good.
That's a lot. A lot. And I felt it today through payroll, so. Pretty good though.
Yeah.
But we kinda get a good deal, because we go
He's on hormone therapy.
with our friend, who is a member, Ray Roberts. So we get to do some things that other people don't get to do. So we got to take our
Four and a half months old, is he not cute?
Oh, man.
My daughter
Right?
last night, they fed him cereal for the first time last night. He was oh my gosh, he is the most laid back kid. He only fusses if he's hungry.
The boys were really excited, they
why should John have a bird?
meet.
Why should John have a bird?
Knock on wood.
No more babies. I'm gonna stop while we're ahead.
Precious.
Condoleezza Rice is
Oh,
on
yeah.
her.
100%. He looks just like his dad.
Robert Goodell, the head of the
Thank you
NFL.
for filling this out.
So they're just sitting there, and
I have a question
Good
for.
pictures of him. 4.5 months old.
Oh,
He's got a 2.5-year-old sister.
He's eager, he's ready.
He had cereal for the first time last night, and he was a fan.
He was.
He was a fan.
Yeah.
Yes. He is a fan of food. He's already proved that.
So how many do you have? Just
Two
two.
grandbabies. I
Okay.
got 2 sons and 2 grandbabies.
Okay.
But
4 months old.
that was after some cereal.
Yeah. Looks like I don't know what just took me.
So the funny thing is, he looks
Going
just
forward,
Yeah.
ready.
I guess I'll just let you know how the process goes.
We used to call Reese Little Mud Dog when he was a kid because he
Well,
couldn't eat anything that was
let me know.
Right.
just
What,
on
where
his
did
face.
But that's not what I
Built
need
in
to talk to you.
every one of his shirts until he was probably in middle school. Disgusting around the collar.
the shirt and napkins were all one.
And he had no taste in outfits.
Yeah.
He used to stay in trouble with his mom.
Yeah.
He came out one morning, he's 3 or 4 years old, he came walking out of his room, had on green shorts and a bright yellow t-shirt, and she just said, go back and try again.
That's funny.
Oh. see it. Stay out of trouble.
Oh, no.
Well,
Have you met me, sir?
so you just met, okay? Well, you know who she is. That's
Yes.
important.
No, not on the podium, it's already on.
It's on. Yeah, you don't generally have any trouble being heard. That's not usually a problem.
Well, you know how it goes.
Especially not from 10 feet away.
He's a delicate little thing.
He's a lot of things.
Yes,
I
I
don't
am.
think delicate made the list.
I'm sorry?
I'm new.
All right. I need to get her to bring some copies of those resolutions. Just make sure you don't have them.
Yeah, I drive around. Right now I'm driving around a lot, but right now I'm at 570. That's like where I sleep.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that's,
Hello.
Sure, how you doing, sir?
Congratulations on Telecommunicator Week.
thank you, thank you.
So,
He's a cutie too.
Alton City, okay.
I was trying to be nice.
All right. How are you? You all
I'm
right?
good, how
Did
are
you
you?
draw a short straw?
I did. You know, someone had to do it.
yeah,
It happened.
I mean, really,
Yeah,
you know, not
that's
bored,
right.
but just comfortable.
Yeah.
I needed something.
Thought when I retired I'd get away from these meetings.
Yeah.
Such a look.
Yeah. So this is my
Retirement
tour
looks
here.
Yeah.
So I'm new.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. So
Your glasses.
I haven't got to talk on the radio yet.
I was wondering, like, that name doesn't sound familiar, because I always see the name, and it seems like 1,000 emails every day, like, oh, you're 5 years ago. So I haven't really associated
Yeah.
faces with
I don't know that
names,
any
just
like battalion.
Perfect.
Even got to speak on the radio.
I think we were all something. I did my very best.
nothing,
Now,
no.
I don't have
Big
any
ass
control over
I
how
would
y'all
use
behave
those
as
there.
executives tonight, but I'm gonna do my best to keep this part to a minimum for you.
Thank you. You know, but all I can bring you is how I.
I'll just be anxiously waiting out here, hoping to have a job when y'all get done talking tonight.
Don't listen to me, but I'll listen to it, so.
And if not, Richard,
You ain't going down to
I just need to know if you're hired.
We are hiring a lot of people.
Now, what I know about electricity is it got okay. That's what I know.
Well rounded. Well rounded. No. So yeah, that's my story. The county life's a little different than what I'm used to. So
Besides, Richard, you know, it is, you have to
Just
get
do
into
what you
this
know.
kind of foundation.
yeah.
Imagine coming to work every day being
None of
fun.
our stations, I guess, run.
I like our work
So
together.
it's always mutual.
We've known each
Sometimes
other
it's
since,
not.
I started in the sales department in 91, you were in Saginaw, so 35 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing was, he had salt and pepper hair.
Used to be brown. Now, Richard, we got wisdom.
Hey, I hear that. Hey, I hear that.
June will be my 44th year.
I started full-time in '83 in Saginaw. I graduated in '82.
So I'm not on radio very often, I mean, so I get to.
Just started hanging out at the fire
the other
station
guy,
when
When I was
14.
12.
12.
He came from
I had to go to Boy Scouts or fire station. That was an easy choice.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, Ed, back then, they didn't have to finance the fire trucks, because they were full size.
Hey, be easy. Fate had already been a fireman 10 years by the time I was 12.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, he kind of, you know, he came from this. He thought that's always done.
That's when I was 12.
Anyways, he lived in the
76 were you? You were 12 and 76 were you?
Okay, it's 6 p.m. I'll call this meeting of the Tarrant County Emergency Services District Number 1 to order. At this point, we'll have the invocation by Chief Shelley.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father God, thank you for this evening, for our opportunity to gather to do the business of the ESD. I ask you to be with our commissioners tonight, God. Guide them, give them wisdom and discernment as they make decisions for our district and all of those who call it home or work. Just be with us, watch over us. We ask you to be with our folks in the field, protect them while they're away from their families, and bring them back home safely. Ask you to watch over all of our staff and just continue to bless them and keep them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, we'll continue with the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States and Texas flags.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
Okay, at this point, we will have presentation of a proclamation recognizing all members of the Tarrant County Regional Communications Center for Telecommunicators Week 2026. Chief Shelley?
Thank you, Mr. President. Put this up here so everybody can hear, and I'll read this proclamation, and then I'll ask Chief Beverly Patton from TCRC to come up and accept it. Whereas National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is observed annually to honor the dedicated men and women who serve as public safety telecommunicators, and whereas public safety telecommunicators, commonly known as 911 call takers and dispatchers, are the critical first point of contact in emergency situations, providing a calm, professional, and essential link between the public and emergency response personnel. And whereas the professionals of Tarrant County Regional Communication Center serve as the primary communications hub supporting emergency response operations for Tarrant County Emergency Services District Number 1 and partner agencies, ensuring timely and effective coordination of fire and EMS resources. And whereas these highly trained professionals are responsible for receiving and prioritizing emergency and non-emergency calls, dispatching fire, EMS, and law enforcement resources, and delivering life-saving instructions to callers during times of crisis. And whereas telecommunicators must exhibit extraordinary skill, composure, and compassion while working under high-pressure conditions, often making split-second decisions that directly impact the safety and well-being of both public and emergency responders. And whereas the work of public safety telecommunicators is vital to the effective operation of emergency services systems and plays a critical role in protecting lives and property within our community, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize and commend the telecommunicators of Tarrant County Regional Communication Center for their unwavering dedication, service, and commitment to public safety. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Commissioners of Tarrant County Emergency Services District Number 1 does hereby recognize the week of April 12th through April 18th, 2026 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and encourages all residents to join in honoring the telecommunicators of Tarrant County Regional Communication Center and all public safety dispatch professionals for their indispensable service and contributions to the safety and well-being of our community. Adopted this 21st day of April 2026 by the Board of Commissioners of Tarrant County Emergency Services District Number 1, Board President Donnie Davis. Mr. President, you want to be in this picture? Yeah. Sure. Come on up here. Probably won't be patching back there, I imagine. Does that work for you?
Thank you.
You bet. I think that's the most out loud reading I've done all at once since about 5th grade.
Okay, the second presentation will be a financial report for March of 2026.
All right. I am going to do the financial report one more month for Jen because she's had a crazy couple of days trying to work through our first 98-person payroll, and she has not had the time that she prefers to prep for this, so I'm going to take care of it tonight for her. But again, I'm just going to go back and say the integration of a finance and HR software is a crazy task. It really is. Jennifer and Alicia both, and even Tiffany has been through some training recently, are spending hours a week in training sessions. 50 something hours y'all got to have done? Yeah, it has to be done here in just the next few weeks on top of their regular workload. So just a crazy amount going on there. They've been able to move our go live date up some. We were originally December to the first of the year, and it looks like now we're going to be closer to the budget year instead of the calendar year. So we're excited to be able to have the 27 budget in there, and very shortly after the budget year starts, hopefully to have it fully operational. And it's going to make our life in many different ways so much easier, from processing invoices to payroll to onboarding new employees and just record keeping in general. We were talking before the meeting some about the challenges of QuickBooks, and this software, though it is expensive, is going to solve a lot of those problems for us, and it's just going to give us a level of professional data collection that we've never had before. So I'm excited to get that in place. And by the time we have to do the audit next year, we will be in a really good place to have good data for them. Expenses are elevated as our operational staff obviously has increased considerably between uniforms and protective gear, and continuing to get our fleet up to speed and getting it branded, supplies, tools, equipment, and so on. It is a crazy amount of purchasing that we've been having to do just trying to get everything operational. We're continuing to have issues. We had a third-party CPA we were working with, again, QuickBooks problems, and Jen continues to persevere and work through things, and she is making payroll happen on her end through the bank. Unfortunately, Mr. President, you get a watch notification every time she pays somebody right now. So with the new software, hopefully that will come to an end. The reimbursement from Tarrant County for the last of the, the most part, the last of the ARPA money was received in March, and there is, I don't have the number in front of me, 124,000 and some change, I believe it was, is the balance we have, and we're going to be able to send our invoice for all the protective clothing in that we purchased for the new employees, and we will get that full reimbursement amount back against that number. It doesn't cover the full cost, but we are literally getting every dime of the ARPA reimbursement that we possibly could, which we're excited to be able to do that.
Good.
So as you see, we paid for some fire trucks and did some reimbursements and some service contracts that went out, and you see those final numbers there, keeping in mind that this was as of the end of March. So things are still healthy and moving forward. We have additional expenses. We paid out some additional service contracts this month. Towards the end of the month, we should be closing on the Eagle Mountain North land purchase. We finally got that replatting process with the county administratively approved week before last, I believe it was. So a lot of progress there, but those expenses will be showing on next month's report. And then we also made the last, or the next to last of the Eagle Mountain and Rendon payments in March. Those final payments were sent out the first week of April. So as of today, our agreements with Rendon and Eagle Mountain are completely paid off, and those agreements have expired. So we are moving forward. And with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions and do my best to answer them or defer to Jen.
I'll just make a comment that your bill payment and the ring on my wrist has gotten me out of more than one meeting that I wanted to get out of. So I'm perfectly okay with it. It's urgent. I got to go. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments by the commissioners?
I have one. Okay.
I think yours.
So, with the payments being done and final, everything's done, have we acquired everything that we were due to acquire from them?
Yes, ma'am. We have full possession of everything that we were supposed to have. So all the assets in Eagle Mountain, the land, the building, all of it. In Rendon, the equipment that was identified in the payment that we made to them, yes. And we have, because our building wasn't quite finished on April 1st, we did a 1-month lease for $4,500 to keep them in the Rendon station. So our crew is running out of that station currently. I got an update from our site superintendent this afternoon, and I think we're going to be in a good place early next week to start moving our troops in. So our goal obviously being that we're fully operational in our new building on Burleson Retta by the 1st of May. And then at that point, that lease agreement for the 1 month will end, and we'll turn the building back over to the board at Rendon, and that will end our relationship with them at that point.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments by commissioners? Okay, next item is discussion and possible action regarding the order of business or agenda items. Is there any issues with the order of business? Then I'll accept a motion to proceed as written.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public comments. Do we have anybody signed up to?
We do not.
Okay. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Chief, you want to go through that with us?
I'm happy to. It's just 2 sets of minutes from our March 10th board meeting and from the March 31st special board meeting for our strategic plan and financial forecast.
Do any of the commissioners have any issues or comments with the minutes as written? I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Item 9, public hearings and or other related items, none.
All right, Kurt, what'd you do? There we go. All right.
Item 10 is
Could we, I'm sorry, I should have asked, as far as the meetings, and I'm not sure if this is where we could ask about it. I know last year, after we got the Fitch study, we made an annual kind of update on the ESD to the Tarrant County Commissioners Court. Stephen did that for us.
Okay.
Now that we've gotten our strategic plan and financial plan in and we're rolling,
You bet.
I think it would be good for us to make an annual update to the Tarrant County Commissioners Court.
Sure.
Tell them, hey, here's where we're at, here's where we're going, and even kind of lay out the plan as far as if we are going to be doing any kind of borrowing
Sure.
for building out Lakeside. I mean, it's fulfilling the Fitch study.
Sure.
I think I'd like to go on record with them as far as kind of what the vision is.
You got it.
So that way, if they have any issues concerning us having a bond election or borrowing money, we could hear it.
Sure.
So I'd
I
like to,
like that.
I'd like to try to provide them that vision of where we're
You got
headed
it.
as well, so that we're all on the same page.
I think that's a great idea. I know that the timing to get on the Commissioners Court agenda is pretty rigorous.
Yeah.
So I'm
just-
guessing it's probably, I'm strictly guessing, but I would guess we're probably pretty close to being June before we can get on the Commissioners Court. So Alicia and I will reach out and
Okay.
get it figured out and get back to you with when that's going to be on the Commissioners Court.
And even if we
Happy
do
to do
give
it.
a slot on their agenda, you're going to get 3 minutes, 4 minutes to
Sure.
talk. I haven't seen any presentations longer than that.
You're not gonna get 4 minutes.
Be grateful for 180 seconds, right?
It's
Yeah.
gonna be 2 minutes, quick and to the point. You're
We
done.
will provide a very succinct,
Yes, and make
Presentation.
sure we talk about possibly having a bond election or borrowing money.
right. Yep.
Okay.
More to come on that. We're gonna talk in the budget workshop
Okay.
next week with that.
That'd be perfect.
Ed is here tonight about our lease purchase of our vehicles, and he will be here next week to talk more in depth. And as the board makes decisions on what direction you want to go, we'll absolutely share that information as appropriate with the commissioners.
How does this normally work when we do a briefing for the county commissioners? Do we give them a lot of information in advance, all of them, let them look at it, and then ask questions?
See, I'm thinking Stephen did provide the Fitch study to him, I thought.
Yeah.
I provided
The Fitch study to him, but they had it, right?
Chief, I think it's gonna be very similar to the agenda packets that you receive. So it would be sent to them and included in their agenda packet for
Yep.
that.
So I think my recommendation at this point, I am almost finished editing the strategic plan with the changes that the board requested after our workshop last month. And I will, I can provide that in the packet, and then we'll just pull out the 30,000 foot level items out of that and focus, remind them that we're solely focused on public safety, on carrying out the Fitch study and our own strategic plan as we've gotten our boots on the ground and had 9 months tomorrow, by the way, to get our feet under us and kind of figure out where we're headed.
Perfect.
So happy to do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to get it on our radar.
You bet. Let us reach out and talk to Megan and start working on getting that added to the court, and I will let you know when that's going to happen. Got it?
Very cool. Okay. Item 10, contracts, agreements, bid awards, and other related items. Chief, you want to go through those with us?
You bet. All right, the first item is an FY26 service contract with Johnson County ESD1. So the Rendon Fire Department has had an agreement with Johnson County for several years. They cover a small area right along the northern border of Johnson County that literally borders the Rendon district to the south. And this has been in place again for several years. Their executive director reached out to me several months ago and asked if we would be interested in continuing that service, and absolutely we are. The team is accustomed to doing it down there, and I don't see any issues with it, and they're going to reciprocate mutual aid from their units in Johnson County if we were to have a fire where we needed them. This is for 6 months, and then we'll look at bringing an agreement back to you with the new budget year for the full year in 27. So it's a $50,000 agreement, and the payments are made monthly. So it's $8,333.33-ish. So that is kind of the plan. We're not providing ambulance down there. It would just be our fire units responding for first response or fires. I'm sure you saw the news in the last couple of weeks about the fire and the shooting in Johnson County. Our crews were on that scene when that occurred. So that area has some call volume. On average, they run about 260 calls a year down there, so a little less than one a day. But as I said, we're happy to do it, and it is a little bit of a revenue stream for us that doesn't require any additional resources, so that's definitely a benefit back to our district. And the agreement was drafted by legal counsel. His office does legal counsel for both ESDs, and this is Ken's standard service agreement that he uses between agencies. I just spoke to him again on Friday, and he was all good with everything, just confirming that. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. But as you can see, it is just 2 fireboxes along the very northern border of Johnson County. Staff's recommendation is to approve the agreement as provided. And we've prepared a sample motion there. You can just insert approve or deny.
Okay. I'll accept a motion to approve or deny the FY26 service contract with Johnson County ESD1 and authorize the board president to execute the agreement.
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. Item B, consider approval of an interlocal agreement with Tarrant Regional Water District for the use of an off-road utility vehicle for emergency responses within the Eagle Mountain Trails Park.
Yes, sir. So, Eagle Mountain has had an agreement with TRWD for several years. They run, especially during the spring and the summer, they run a fair number of EMS calls within the trails at Eagle Mountain Park. This is a utility vehicle, a gator, if you will, that's equipped with a bed on it that will haul a stretcher basket and a backboard for carrying someone out, and a place to put medical kits for those crews to get down in there. They've ran some pretty significant calls over the year down in there. They've had some cardiac arrests from overexertion and heat, and it's a pretty critical piece of equipment that is in place. TRWD has agreed to allow us to continue using the vehicle for now. There's not really a specified time frame on that. The last interaction we had with them was simply that at some point they would get with us about getting it back because it is their asset. But it is going to be important for us to have a vehicle like this at Eagle Mountain for the long term in order to make sure we can meet the service demands up there. So what we have done as staff, as the redundancy and the backup to this agreement, is we've added funding in our long-term fleet replacement program for one of these utility vehicles, one of these off-road vehicles, to be able to purchase one of those down the road to put in service. And we're looking at $50,000-$60,000, I think, for the base unit, and then a lot of the Eagle Mountain themselves purchased like the bed and the emergency lights and some of that stuff. They put that stuff on the UTV. It was just the vehicle itself that was provided by the water district.
It's an enclosed air condition, so when they get those overheated people, just getting them out of the heat, in the cool air and some water can resolve a lot of the problems. So that's the extra cost. It's the enclosure as well.
Yeah. It really is almost like a little mini Jeep, if you will. This thing it's at the station. You can certainly go by there and see it at any time, but it's a nice piece of equipment, and it gets used a lot more actually than I thought it would have.
That was going to be my question. Is it at 170 right now?
It is.
And so they drive that down Boat Club Road?
They have found it faster to just get it and drive, because it'll go 55 miles an hour, than it would be to load it, trailer it, load it, and unload it.
I always assumed it was somewhere in the park, and TRWD just kept it there for us.
It is. Hauser Fire
Being
Station.
closer with the new North Station, that'll be a much shorter drive than the whole boat club.
And I know this is not part of what we're discussing, but is there any issue with the fireboat?
I was gonna ask that same question, Don.
No, we acquired the fireboat with the purchase of all of Eagle Mountain's assets, and it is in the slip with the district's police boat. So all of that's in place, and we have all of it. And the folks at Eagle Mountain that can operate that boat were part of the employees that we hired. So we have operators and we have the boat.
Okay. Is there training going to happen on that fireboat with summer coming up?
They'll be training within the crews at 170, yes.
Okay, cool. Because there will be knuckleheads on Eagle Mountain Lake.
That's what we keep hearing. We just visited with the captain out there for a little while yesterday evening, and he was warning us that the call volume out there was fixing to ramp up considerably. So
some of the knuckleheads might be my family or neighbors. So
the executive director will refrain from any comment.
Okay. I assume you had a motion?
Yeah, we're recommending approval, and here is a motion to use.
Okay, I will accept a motion to approve or deny an interlocal agreement with the Tarrant Regional Water District for the, I'm going to rephrase that. I will accept a motion to approve an interlocal agreement with the Tarrant Regional Water District for the use of an off-road utility vehicle for emergency responses within the Eagle Mountain Trails Park and other areas near the lake, and authorize the board president to execute the agreement. Do I have a- do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. Item 11, action items. Discussion and/or action on approval to make the 2025 Tarrant County tax roll payment to the county in the amount not to exceed $152,705.05.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just a bit of background on this item, completely unbeknownst to anyone within your staff. We received an invoice from Tarrant County in late January in the amount of $152,705 and some change. Our understanding is that we've never been invoiced for this in the past. Jennifer went back through several years of payments for the ESD and had no record of us making this payment. I reached out to President Davis and Commissioner Moore looking for a contact within finance at the county to try to help us understand what was going on. In the middle of all of that, Jennifer had reached out to the person on the email and started a conversation with them trying to understand what it is. And basically it is a fee for collecting our property taxes for us. They charge us $1.07 per land parcel in the ESD.
And they've never done it before.
And they've never done it before. And I'll do my best to explain as I understand it, and then I'll defer to Commissioner Moore because I know that she had some conversations with the tax assessor directly about it. Because obviously a six-figure payment that we're not expecting is outside of our normal budget, and that's not something any organization wants to deal with. But as I understand it, when the ESD was being managed and operated by the Tarrant County Fire Marshal's office, and he was a county employee, and the ESD had no employees, no staff, and no real organizational structure at the time, it was just allowed to go through as part of the county tax collection. And then with a new tax assessor and with us standing up an actual fire department over the last year, that decision was made to pass that fee on to the ESD. And we will need to budget for this fee every year. And this is in addition to the $45,000+ fee we pay to Tarrant Appraisal District for including our tax information on the blue forms that go out to property owners. Yes, ma'am.
I know Commissioner Moore's gonna speak, but my question is,
Try this again.
that's why I'm not using it. The question is, anytime anything happens when you're gonna have bill, you should be notified
Agreed.
prior to. Okay, so my question is, how can you just say, okay, they're doing something else now, we're gonna start charging them? There's no conversation, there's no information, there's nothing. How can that be allowed?
So the bill is going to the wrong person, because as you know, the ESD didn't have its records in order or its contact information in order and wasn't abiding by a lot of the rules. And so this was one of the things that caught us because we weren't following the right protocol. And then of course we have a new tax assessor, and so this is a countywide, it's part of the countywide standard taxing entities, especially government entities. And so they're doing it by the book now.
So we were getting notices.
We
but they
just weren't receiving them.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Very unfortunate, but
But wait
that's
a
the
minute,
case.
where were they going?
I don't exactly know.
I don't think, they weren't coming here, and I don't think they were going to the fire marshal's office, because I will say that Elizabeth was very diligent with the record keeping and the invoices as payments came in. I mean, from my time prior to becoming an employee of the district, sitting through several board meetings, I mean, you all were approving bills on a monthly basis and taking care of things. And so I'm at a loss, but I agree with you completely that it felt very blindsiding to not know that this was coming. And they have since already reached out wanting to know when are we getting our payment, and we've reminded them, you know, this has got to go to the board. This was not a budgeted item. So
They were very gracious though, and were willing to work on a payment system if we needed that, since we weren't aware and were caught off guard. So that was something that was offered. I did discuss it with Chief Shelley, and he said we could.
yeah, we have the funding in our text pool to go ahead and just make the payment. I think it's easier for us to just do that and plan for next year and just move forward from there. But we expressed our displeasure with the way it was handled as best we could in as kind a way as possible. But it was very frustrating for us as well, as we're obviously spending a lot of money getting this fire department off the ground. So we'll get that payment issued out based on the board's decision tonight.
So that charge was similar to the other governmental 107?
So there was the TAD charge, but this is the standard charge countywide,
Right.
so it's very consistent.
Yeah, my understanding is a
district,
similar
everybody.
charge is charged to the college district and
That's what
to
I
the
was-
hospital
that's right.
district as well.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, I will accept a motion to approve the payment of $152,705.05 to the Tarrant County tax roll, to the county for our tax roll payment.
So moved. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item B, approval of a resolution regarding lease purchase financing from government capital for fire apparatus and equipment and other matters related thereto.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, I must confess, as your fire chief, that I may have screwed this up a little bit and got a little out of order. And Stephanie and Ed at Government Capital have placed me in a timeout and straightened me up. And we're getting our paperwork in order tonight. Is that fair, Ed? We brought this forward to you at last month's meeting to approve the lease purchase of our vehicles in our fleet replacement plan for fiscal year 27, based on the time it's going to take to get those units in. Some of them are going to come in a little quicker than others, but the last of them will be into the fall, into the next fiscal year. And so what we've got to do is the next two items are resolutions related to that lease purchase. And this just authorizes the lease purchase of the vehicles, and then there's a promissory note that the board president would sign tonight that goes with that for the annual lease payments. And the first payment won't be due until a year from the date of the funding, which, assuming everything goes forward tonight, is in May. So we'll move forward with that. It's a 5-year lease purchase period, and we would anticipate annually bringing the next year's purchase to the board, and we would just continue to roll these, and every 5 years one will fall off and a new one would come on for that next year's vehicles.
If I could ask some questions.
You absolutely can.
I wasn't here last month, and I apologize for
No
missing
worries.
this important meeting. But is it standard that most municipalities or ESDs would use this sort of a plan to have this staggering approach to purchasing equipment?
It's a very common practice. I've been using lease purchase for fire trucks and ambulances for close to 25 years. It just keeps you from taking large sums of capital out of your reserves in one fell swoop to pay for those things. And over time, as we get 3 or 4 years of these payments in place, those payments will be larger. Obviously, it'll be several payments that we're making at that point. But it just allows us to get to a point where we're a little more consistent with those payments, and then they just rotate and they fall off. The lease period ends and we own the vehicles. And then what we will likely do is, as our vehicles age out, the older reserve vehicles, we'll turn around and trade those vehicles in or sell them outright and put those proceeds toward the purchase of the next vehicles, which will just lower that next year's lease payments.
And was the total for all of this 2.85 million?
It was 2.815, I believe, is the exact
And
amount.
what all does that include?
That is a fire engine. It is the light air and support unit. It is a 3/4 ton pickup with a camper shell and a pull-out tray on the back for our shift commanders, and the Sprinter van that you see out front that our logistics division is using.
Okay.
And let me tell you, out of all those things, that van has already gotten a workout in this last week or two, because with all the fire equipment and gear that we've been having to shuttle out to our new employees as it's come in, I've seen that van stacked to the top of the door a couple of times getting that stuff out. So it's just a good way for us to process our fleet replacement program and not have to ask for millions of dollars all at once to buy our vehicles. We did that with the first round of fire vehicles, the 2 engines that we received and the staff vehicles. We've been buying those outright so far because our capital fleet fund was pretty robust at that point. But as you saw in the finance report, those numbers have come down as we've paid cash for those vehicles. And this will just allow us to keep more of those funds in our reserves. And I'm going to ask Ed to come up, and he and I were talking on Friday, and I just want him to explain to you that the difference in the interest that we'll pay on this lease purchase versus what that capital sitting in the bank at our current interest rates would be accruing, just so you kind of have an understanding of that.
Well, before that, so
Sure.
what would be the outright cost of everything that we would be financing if we were to pay it cash?
It's that 2.815.
Okay, so borrowing it, we're borrowing it at the same cost exactly that we would be paying cash for?
No, the interest rate, I think, is 3.5% on the lease
What's
purchase.
an additional 3.5%?
Yeah, that's correct.
Which over time would put us where?
So,
And I don't have a slide for you, and I'm sorry
okay, no,
about that.
no
I
worries.
did not get
Very-
it in
very
there.
quickly, that's a good question. So the interest rate is 3.5% on the financing.
Mhm.
So over the term of the 5 years, you would pay $331,540. So one of the analysis we run is your yield analysis on reserve. So right now you're yielding 3.55, and that's compounded daily. So over the same 5-year period, so it's a simple analysis, but it's one that it's kind of a checkpoint for us. If we left the fund balance and let it continue to earn interest for the next 5 years versus the financing and what we're going to pay on interest, the ISD, assuming that 3.55% holds, you would earn $543,000 in interest for that 5-year period. You would pay $331,000
So we
in
net
interest.
roughly
So you would net about
$200,000.
$212,000 of interest, positive interest earnings.
Mhm.
The break-even analysis for if you were to say if yields drop to a certain point, what might we consider using fund balance to pay off would be 2.24 is your break-even point. So that's kind of the way we would approach it. Be one of the analysis we look at. So right now, to be able to secure the financing at a rate lower than what you're yielding on your fund balance, normally it's a go decision if we're less than 1% difference. You're actually inverse, so you're actually low. So those yields can move around, obviously on cash yields. They don't move a ton. I mean, taxable yields will change a little bit unless we get some drastic action from the Fed. But again, you're still, 130 basis points away from the break-even point. And that's just a separate analysis from what we were saying about just the leveling of your cash flows and the planning as you're ramping up, from the operational side. The visibility will get better a year from now. You have more visibility about your operating environment in terms of the budgeting process. It'll be a little bit easier to determine, okay, we're comfortable with managing our reserves down to a level. When you're in a build-up period, you tend to drift towards maybe holding a little bit more in reserves as you're ramping up, just because there's some things that may not be, that aren't known today that you'll know to.
Would you also happen to know regarding, the state constitution's chapter 775, or in regard to safety, and it explicitly talks about us borrowing money for capital investments and things, where does this fall?
This is authorized under 775.085.
Okay,
Where you're able to finance, ESDs are able to finance for a term up to 10 years, apparatus and equipment and
Okay.
vehicles. Stations can be financed for a term up to 20 years. Now, if you exceed those terms, you have to have a bond election. So that's another, obviously another structure and a completely different process.
Sure.
But this is the most common way ESDs finance apparatus and equipment across the state.
okay. Is this something, that you would be presenting next week at the budget meeting so that we could see how, taking out this loan would actually make us money, and you could show it to us?
Yeah, that'll be one of the analysis, because it's one of the decisions, if you look at the decision, the things that go into making a decision about how to manage capital projects and debt management, it's part of that decision matrix. So, yeah, that'll be something that I certainly would be glad to address. I mean, there's a number of things from a long-term financial planning perspective that would go into that conversation, but certainly the yield analysis would be one of those. Yeah,
That'd be great.
That would be good. As far as this particular agreement, and you mentioned the vehicles and equipment that we had identified, is that limited to those
Yes.
vehicles?
That is all that's in there in the paperwork that the president would sign, and the attachment
Right.
to that agreement includes a list of those vehicles for that year's purchase. We're gonna use it for those things, and that's it. We're not buying any additional, we're not paying some of it off and coming back and asking to reallocate those funds to us again or anything like that. But this purchase was approved by the board last month.
Yeah.
We simply did not include the resolutions in the packet, and GovCap and our lender, First Financial, require those resolutions to be part of our submittal packet. So you're basically just approving the resolutions that go with the approved purchase from last month. Or this first resolution is the purchase. The second one has to do with reimbursing ourselves from the loan proceeds.
And your council has reviewed this, he's approved all the paperwork, all that.
Yes.
So.
Okay, any other questions on this one?
No?
Do you have a motion, or do you want me to?
We do.
Okay. I will accept a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a lease purchase financing from Government Capital for fire apparatus and equipment and other related matters thereto.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's approved. Item C, approval of a resolution declaring the intention of Tarrant County Emergency Services District Number 1 to reimburse itself from the proceeds of one or more tax exempt financings for certain expenditures to be made in connection with fire apparatus and equipment and other matters related thereto.
So, sorry for interrupting, Mr. President, but thank you. So with the approval last month, we've started the ball rolling on all four vehicles. And as I spoke to a moment ago, we were able to acquire the Sprinter van quicker than we thought we were going to get it initially. Our initial thoughts on it were that we may have to order it. However, we found a local vendor at a great price. I don't remember exactly the savings. It was several thousand off of the list price. But so we've already purchased that vehicle and we've paid for it. But it's part of this lease purchase plan. So this resolution will allow us, when those loan proceeds are received, to place the funding from that Sprinter van or anything else that might come in before we have the loan proceeds. It gives us 60 days Ed, is that correct?
Right, 60-day look back period.
Yeah, look back from the date of funding. So it allows us to reimburse ourselves for any expenses related to these purchases that we may have incurred had we purchased some of the loose equipment for something or whatever. Then when the financing comes in, we just put that money back in our reserves. And this is dotting I's and crossing T's in financial paperwork just to make all that okay.
Okay. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Then I will accept a motion to approve a resolution authorizing Tarrant County ESD number 1 to reimburse itself from lease purchase financing proceeds for fire apparatus and equipment purchases made within the 60 days prior to receipt of lease purchase financing proceeds and other matters related thereto.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item C is approved.
Mr. President, I just want to point out that I am not smart enough to come up with that language, and Ed was good enough to provide that language for us, so that
Thank
we
you.
make everybody happy.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed. Talk to you soon. Yes, sir.
Item 12, briefing items. The first one is the FY26 budget workshops. Chief?
Yes, so the budget workshops are upcoming. The first one being a week from tonight at 6 o'clock. Your staff has been working diligently through our proposed FY27 budget. We have met with fire operations, EMS operations, and our logistics folks to make sure that we're covering all our bases on the needs to operate the district as a 4 fire station organization with 100 employees. As things sit today, based on our tax projections with the new revenue that we'll be receiving with the city of Lakeside becoming part of the ESD, and with our thus far robust sales tax collections, we're sitting north of $500,000 in the black in our proposed budget as we bring it to you next week. Certainly that is subject to change. Things are going to adjust over the next few months as we get closer to the certified tax roll coming out and things of that nature, where we may have to adjust some of our funding numbers. We have plugged in the payment for the vehicle lease purchases that we just got through discussing. I have also plugged a placeholder in the budget of $2.5 million related to facilities. Rather, that is a cash deposit into our capital facility fund to save towards building a fire station, or it is a loan payment towards borrowing the money to go ahead and build out the fire stations that we've previously discussed. Either way, that placeholder in the budget is an adequate amount of money to cover that whichever way we go. We also have approximately $3.8 million identified in the budget for service contracts next year. That is a reduction from this year's contracts. We won't have contracts with, we won't have service contracts with Newark and Crescent next year. Those will be mutual aid agreements at that point, as ESD fire stations have taken over those response areas. There are some other adjustments to some of the other service contracts, and as we get closer to the final budget adoption and I'm able to see what those third quarter payments to our service providers, what that actual response number looks like, I'll be better able to identify exactly what those contracts are going to cost next year, which will allow us to tighten up that 3.8 number a little bit more, I believe. Unless we have just a crazy busy response summer with our contractors, I think we'll be able to bring that number down some more. I don't have an exact number for you, but I do think it'll come down some more. And then, again, depending on decisions that the board makes after the budget workshop and in our May meeting, you know, how long we continue to pay those service contracts will be impacted by when we build the next fire stations.
And that's based on the new business model we put in place
That's
last year,
correct.
correct?
The funding model,
Yes.
that's correct.
And so, to that end, anecdotally, how do you think it's gonna be received?
So historically, I mean, if you're providing service such as what a fire department provides, you know, funding is never enough. You're always looking for additional funding. You know, municipalities have the added challenge of competing needs, right? You have a police department, a public works department, parks, library. So those are huge challenges for those municipal fire departments. And frankly, our service providers run the gamut. I mean, we have departments making less than 50 calls a year on our behalf, and we have departments making more than 1,500 calls on our behalf. And working with them to adjust service areas to where the ESD takes more of it on for our fire stations is going to help some of that load, but some of it will never make sense for us to provide the primary response. Probably the two best examples of those would be Roanoke and Haslett. Our units are 20 to 30 minutes away from the Roanoke area and 15 plus minutes away from the Haslett area. And both of those departments are minutes away. So it would make sense in the long term to just leave those agreements in place and continue to fund them. But as I said last summer, what I love about our funding model is it is 100% response driven. If they make incidents, they earn funding. If they aren't having to run calls in the district, then we're not paying out funding. And we have seen some giant adjustments from previous amounts these cities were earning from the ESD. Some of those have come down as much as $100,000+. So there'll be some frustration on those things, to answer your question, but at the same time, being a response-based funding plan, I feel like it's a pretty airtight plan. And within our service contracts, we made a couple of additional adjustments with some of the departments that have incident commanders, battalion chiefs of their own, Crowley and Saginaw specifically. So we've taken those things into account, that if those assets are put into service, there should be a fee paid for that. But those are pretty limited situations where that happens. So that would be the other big part of the budget, would be the service agreements. That's another big number you'll see in the budget. But we are just cleaning up some formatting and so forth, and I will be sending out the draft budget to you all tomorrow. So you will have basically a week to review and make notes of the things that you want to ask questions about. But what I do want you to rest assured is we have a very long PowerPoint that we're putting together, and we have every single line item has a slide. And I will talk, Chief Mays will talk, Chief Brown will talk in as much detail as you ask about what some of these things are. Some of it will make great sense to you, and some of it probably won't, because it's very technical stuff. But between the three of us, we've been writing budgets for over 50 years. So hopefully we're doing a halfway decent job of pulling this thing together. And frankly, I was grateful to have more than 6 weeks to get it done like last year. So we're excited to get that in front of you and let you start digesting that. And then as you go through it, if you have questions late this week, early next week, don't hesitate to holler and let me know, or send me an email. We can make arrangements to meet and sit down and talk here, or grab coffee, or whatever you want to do. But I don't want you to feel surprised by anything in there. The biggest shocker will be $13 million in salary and benefits expenses, but that's reality when you bring on staff like we have. And then what those added costs down the road will be as we add additional stations and personnel to fill in our service gaps.
So,
It's an expense, but it's what taxpayers want and need. That's
And-
what they voted for.
agreed. And we are super excited to provide that service. I mean, I will tell you the morale of the organization is amazing. Everybody's super excited. He's stepped out now, but our battalion chief that's on duty today has been in the back of the room, and we were talking at dinner about it, and he's just ecstatic about the team and their performance and their enthusiasm for the job. So good things are happening. And unless you have any other questions there, I'll just move forward. But again, if you have specific items that you want us to include in the budget for next year, just bring those next week to pass along to us, and we will get them added. I will tell you, we have provided money in the budget to fund replacement or additional uniforms for you all, and the funding for attendance to safety for next year is in the budget as well.
Cool. Okay, item B, is there any other questions from commissioners? Item B is fire operations update.
It's his first time.
It is. Mine will be a little bit longer than Chief Brown's because he just plays solitaire doing ambulance stuff. So. Sorry, Chief. All right. Well, good evening. So start off with apparatus and equipment. So again, as we've purchased quite a few apparatus, we're responsible for 51 pieces of equipment in the district. I think there's about 8 or 9 that belong that the cities maintain, but the rest are for us. And so that's quite a bit of work that's going on in the logistics division and getting our new Tahoes and our admin vehicles upfitted with the lights and the sirens so that we can respond. So happy to report after a long awaited time, myself, Chief Shelley, and Chief Brown's Tahoes are completed. And Chief Ballew's and the logistics vehicle, Support 170, they're going in on Monday, so getting those done. And then we jump down to the battalion chief vehicle. It's been ordered. It's another pickup. And then Chief Florence, EMS battalion chief, his vehicle's being ordered. And so what we found through this process, because we had a grumpy boss wanting to know why this is taking so long, and we talked to the Wheeling rep, and so we're actually going to drive to Henderson, Texas. So if anybody's bored, we're looking for drivers. We're going to go to Henderson, Texas, and we can get it done in like 2 weeks. So we've ordered everything ourselves, and once it comes in, we drive it there and they're done. And that's going to save us months of waiting. So that's what we've learned in the process.
6 months is what we waited to get the 3 Tahoes done.
Wow. If you're serious about the drivers, you need help.
Understood. Understood. I may take Faith. There's some good golf courses down in Faith.
Yeah, you can take me to the golf course.
All right, engine 370 is that third fire apparatus, the engine that will eventually go to Briar. That's the one that's we'll be getting in August, and probably time it gets make ready and ready to go. Let's shoot around Thanksgiving. So that will help the Briar station out. The utility 270, the light air rehab support, again, that's on target. They're waiting for the big SCBA compressor that will fill all of the air bottles on the scene of an emergency. They're waiting for that to come in. The vehicle's ready, just kind of waiting on some equipment. Again, we're kind of anticipating that July this year for that to go in service.
Could I ask a question before you
yeah.
move on from that? I watched the video of the one that went into, I forget where its sister went into.
Savannah, Georgia.
And on that one, they track all of their equipment that goes into that SCBA refill station. They track the RFIDs. Is that something we're going to be doing so we have all of that kind of information on our tanks?
I'm not for sure. I know Captain Maroney's working on, he's the logistics guy, and he's pretty OCD, and as we really are trying to work with First Due, who is our records management system, they have some different avenues. So whether we're going to be able to do barcodes or what can we do, because we have to track every time they fill up an air bottle, it has to be logged for the fire commission. So there's definitely some efficiencies through barcode scanning and that type thing. So
The sister unit had an RFID reader that would automatically track
Yeah,
that.
I think, well, I wasn't aware of it, we haven't seen it, so, but that's something we can reach out to Chief to Cutterback with with Metro and let him get us in contact with Savannah, Georgia people and see what it is. So, yeah, I appreciate the heads up. Anything to be more efficient. Okay. Again, we're in that transition phase. We've bounced around different companies, and we've really found that across the street, PSD Inc. has been super responsive and quick to getting all of the vehicles that we acquired through the transition to getting them lettered with the blue and the gold and our ESD stuff. So that's going good. The Saginaw engine is the first engine, and it will be ready tomorrow. And then we got another vehicle that's going to go over there in one of the pickups to get striped. So, and then the next week, the Everman vehicle will go, and we're slowly going, making some traction with that. So we're excited to get everything branded. I mean, the reserve apparatus won't have like the unit ID numbers because it could be all over the place. So it'll be a little less on there, but it still has the blue on top and all our striping. Again, at the time that I wrote this, you know, we had no spare apparatus. Our only 1999 reserve engine was in service in Briar. Since then, the Briar engine has made it back and is now in service, which has given us a little wiggle room. But of course, the Tanker 21 Eagle Mountain one gets broke, and so we got to get it towed. And so we're just, I mean, our logistics department is knocking it out of the park, but they're unfortunately very busy moving and shuttling vehicles between graphics, upfitting, and the garage. So, so I think it's starting to stabilize out a little bit. And as soon as we can get these graphics done, I think we'll be able to get the Rendon engine in service down there. Anyway, it's every day's a new day of vehicle maintenance. Let's see here. Portable radios. I mean, that has been the devil. It is very crazy. Is, you know, we go to conferences. It's always like, what do you learn at a conference, right? Okay, you know, it's about networking. Well, Chief Watson from Parker County, we see him on Monday, and we started talking, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that we're doing our whole new radio system May 12th. So we just got all of our portables we purchased programmed." Only to find out they're not going to be any good after May 12th to talk to them. So it's just been a back and forth game, but we're going to get there. So that has been not a lot of fun for me.
He has asked to not be in charge of radios, and that request has been denied.
Yeah. All right. Personnel and uniforms. Again, I think admin staff, all the girls up front. Again, what Captain Maroney and Engineer Hannah did in trying to get ready for 57 new people with all the bunker gear and every piece of uniform clothing that there is to get sorted, organized, and boxed and sent out was just phenomenal. Yep. But they were a bunch of busy little ants. So we got all that done. I would say that we're at about 98%. There's a few boots, gloves, and a polo that might have been missing, but everybody is looking good and in good protective gear, which is what's most important on the fire scene. Happy to report, and we hope that this stays, but we are fully staffed. So that's a fresh of breath air for us and all the onboarding that Alicia and Jennifer have been having to deal with. So one of the things that I'll speak about, if you have any more questions, I'm going to turn around and defer to Alicia. But as the Whiskey Flats thing went on, and she had that Whiskey Flats shirt that became a popular item, how do we buy them? Where do we get them? What's that internal process look like? And what she's worked out with Fort Worth Promotions, who did y'all's uniforms, is each station has its own logo, as you may have seen. And so you can go on the Fort Worth Promotions website, log in, whatever that pathway is, and you can go buy whatever size you want, small, medium, large, child. They'll print them there. They just pay them, and then whatever we're charging versus their cost, they'll send us a check. So it's a small revenue stream, but it's going to be a very easier process for us to help the customer get whatever they want with a department shirt. So,
Very cool.
yeah, and then eventually when the website gets all squared away, that link will be there to guide them. Alrighty, technology, again, Chief Ballew's working on getting all the computers and the apparatus. It's just a process for us to go through with this company to get it all in. So hopefully here by the time we meet again, hopefully they'll be in there, because that's going to enhance our response times, because some of them struggle to get on the radio to get out because they don't reach the antenna. And so, but being able to hit the computer button will hopefully capture better analytics of our response times. Again, First Due is our records management system. We use that for reporting and scheduling. This was our first pay period. It's been very paper driven on my end. As I would give a report to Alicia and Jennifer, and then Chief Brown came in here and said, "Hey man, run this report, see if this will work in this new software." And it did, and it spit out everybody's name, time, and numbers and all that. So again, once we can get that integrated with our payroll system, that's going to save a lot of man hours to focus on other things. So working through that. Lexapolls are policy procedures. That's just an ongoing process. One of the things that we also now have is cell phones for the battalion chief and each on-duty captain at the stations. And then the ambulances have some, because that's how they call or report to the hospital. So we've compiled a list and we're putting it all together. So I'm sure that can be shared at some point. Us chiefs met with Mansfield. We've been trying to meet our neighboring departments and talk with them and get us all introduced. Not that we don't know each other, but you know, they're asking, what do you have? What do we do? So we've been putting that information sheets. Chief Ballew's making maps, and so as we just get integrated in each other's response plans so we can help each other. So a lot's going on behind the scenes, and that's all I got.
What's your best guess on when the board is going to be able to get metrics on response times and things like that? And I know it's a whole mountain to get there. Just
you want to answer that, because I don't think it's anytime soon.
Okay.
So technically, May will be the first time that we will have somewhat clean data for our 4 fire stations. We continue to struggle with our service providers with the format that information is submitted. By not being in our records management software, not part of our overall data collection stream, it's man hours to pull that data together and try to package it in a manner that lines up with ours. I am hoping that by the June meeting, give us 2 months of both stations being open, to start to show you some basic monthly statistics. Our 4 stations answered 250 ambulance calls and 19 fire calls, and we went and picked somebody up out of the floor 54 times, whatever it may be, to start giving you those analytics, and that our average response time is X minutes. Our average time to get out of the firehouse is 49 seconds, whatever those numbers are. But to start to give you some basic data, and then to work in the direction of probably quarterly and annually to provide you a little more detailed information. I want to have conversations with the fire marshal to be able to come back to the board and say, you know, we dealt with structural fires affecting $20 million worth of property in Tarrant County, and the total estimated loss out of that $20 million was $1.5 million. So we've had a 15% impact or 7.5% impact to the budget, or to the property values of our affected fire properties, things like that. So I have full intention of that stuff coming to you. It is just that the collection of the data has been a nightmare. And when you pair that with the speed at which we've been working and the volume of things that we have been standing up, it is a challenge. And I know I sound like a broken record on this. I just promise you it's coming. it's getting better every month. Chief Ballou and I have talked numerous times. He's already looking at reports within First Due that will do the data the way I want it and put it in a format that's easy for you to understand, and will make it easy for you to turn around and ask questions. I want that data too, because the expense of operating the organization, we need to be able to show you what you're getting for that expense, what that service looks like. And though I believe we are doing good work, I want to give you data to back that up. Exactly. And I assure you it's coming. It's just, it is a process.
Yeah, I can't reiterate, as President Davis said, I mean, that is really important for us, especially as we're fully staffed, you know, and not just for us, but also for the community.
Sure.
To just say, because you got to know that at Whiskey Flats, we're doing a lot better. And so you just want to be able to have that to show them. And then, you know, the other thing I would say, as I was driving to the airport, I guess it was Thursday, coming up Confederate Park Road, 1886, I saw our fire station, our fire truck and an ambulance from Eagle Mountain headed west. And so I was, in my mind, I'm wondering, I mean, what's the response time on that? Yeah. Just so that we can, I mean, that helps us build Lakeside. Yeah. So that kind of information, you know, I know it's difficult getting all of the disaggregated data together, but the sooner you can do that, the better it will be.
Yes, sir. Chief Ballou, I mean, it's a daunting task, is why I gave more of the hesitation answer, because he's having to draw out all these new box cards, and we're, as much as we focus on Briar and Whiskey Flats, now trying to do 1s and 7s at the same time and getting all these boundaries. So we're going to be expanding more. So, you know, our numbers are going to change as this goes along. That's why it's going to take a hot second before consistency develops, because our forever changing little boundaries. So we're working on it. We hear you, and we'll get it.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Okay, now we get to pick on Chief Brown.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
If we're not interrupting your solitaire yet.
I don't play solitaire, but I got some other ignorant.
Oh my goodness.
Just a few things that we were wanting to cover. So we met with the Texas Department of State Health Services back on March the 10th to do our initial inspection.
Chief, is the microphone on? Ladies, can you hear him back there? Certainly. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, hey, you interrupted me.
Talking to the mic.
Yeah. So we met with them on March the 10th to conduct our initial inspection with the Department of State Health Services to get our provider's license. He was there for about 3.5, 4 hours going through our ambulance, our equipment, counting all the equipment, checking this, circling that, and I'm proud to say we were good to go. We didn't have any deficiencies that we had to address. So we received our license 3 days after that on the 13th of March. One of the concerns we had, so you know, we were able to purchase a lot of our medications when we opened up both Briar and Whiskey Flats. So our basic medicines for cardiac and some of the other things that we treat for, we were able to get through our medical director's licensing and our first responder organization license that we had previously gotten. But one of the things for our provider's license to get the narcotics that we are able to administer to our patients when they're in pain. I had big concerns about us being able to make that happen by the 1st of April. I was real proud to say that after we received our license number from the state of Texas, which was the 13th of March, Battalion Chief Florence got on the phone. He had already had the paperwork completed. He put our state TX number in there, sent it to the DEA in Dallas. called them 3 days later to make sure that they got the paperwork, and everything that we had said, everything that we had read in communications with others, they said it would take 30 to 60 days to get done. So I don't know who the young lady was that Chief Lawrence talked to, but she got it done that day, and we received it in about 3 days. So we were able to get our DEA numbers and be able to get the narcotics that we needed. So that we needed anyway, to administer to our patients that were in pain. So we got that on March 17th, and we were able to get all of the medications bought and on our ambulances, and we say ambulances. Prior to starting up our operations, we need to get all these folks trained. So we brought on, what did you say, 57 folks? So we need to get a lot of them trained. Luckily for us, the folks that we brought on board out of Eagle Mountain were already involved and were working under the protocols of Best EMS. That was fantastic that we had 15 people that we didn't have to get trained. But we still had 43 people that we needed to get trained in Best EMS's systems. So we'd set up training on March the 30th and 31st, 2 days of training for half the group of 43. We set up training on the 1st of April and 2nd of April, trained the other half of those 43. So we were able to get those people trained up in a 4-day period to meet the needs and requirements that we needed to go in service at 0700 hours on April 1st. It all went really good. No hiccups on those first days to speak of. Small little stuff here and there. Technology is always a challenge for us, isn't it? And we're still dealing with that as well. It's forever going and forever a big pain in the hiney, quite honestly. Along with that, we've been working with EMS MC. So EMS MC is the company that will be doing our EMS billing. One of the issues that we had run across is we needed our tax ID form. So our tax ID was established, I'm going to say in 1996-ish, when the ESD came into service. But we didn't have the form that said we had a tax ID number. So they directed me to talk with the IRS and tell them we need a substitutable form. Form 147C. I've got these numbers down in my head. And they didn't want to talk to us. But we were able to submit a change of address form and a change of personnel form, which was a form number 8844D. And through some sort of magic, I called back down there after we'd sent that in, and they identified who we were, and we were able to finally get this form from the IRS, which allows EMS MC to start doing our billing. Within the next 30 days, they should be able to start doing our billing. They'll do the past billing for us as well. One of the things that is a challenge, and EMS MC, our provider, is doing for us is they have to establish our Medicare, Medicaid numbers for us to be able to bill Medicare, Medicaid. And that's a challenge. Medicare takes approximately 30 days to get that paperwork done. Medicaid can take up to 90 days. The big plus that we have up to a year to back bill anything that we have. So there won't be any loss of revenue for us going forward. There's just a bit of a delay in it. But that's about everything I have. Y'all have any questions?
I do. Same question that I asked Chief Mays. What kind of metrics are we going to get as a board from the EMS side? I would assume it's response time. Is his response time and your response time, I mean, are those calculated in different ways or by different people? Or?
It's the same.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's all the same. We're using First Due as well. So we have a EPCR, and then we have the software system that we use for fire response. So it's all tied in the same system. So we'll be able to provide you with the same information in those resources. So I'm assuming when Chief gives you that, he'll have the fire responses, he'll have EMS responses, and every other response with those times that are associated with that. Right. So we can pull the exact same data for either side. So.
What about patient outcomes? Is that something that, I mean, I'm kind of searching here for what kind of metrics this board should be expecting. How do we evaluate how good you're doing? What kind of metrics should we be looking at?
Metrics for patient outcomes. That's a difficult, because it ties a little bit in with HIPAA. We can give you some general, so we can give you general information. These are the types of calls that we run. We don't always get what those outcomes are. There's a system that we're tied in called HDE, which gives us outcomes. Years ago, when we used it, it was really nice from the standpoint if I had a guy that a couple of guys that transported somebody and they thought, let's just say they were having an MI, right? So what we do, we go in and we evaluate and we treat for what we think it is, right? They take them to the hospital, we transfer information, we transfer the patient to the hospital, and we used to not be able to close that loop to go, is what I treated for what the actual outcome was? So this HDE allows us to do that. So we can pull some basic data out of it, but then there again, it's hard to get any specifics as to what those outcomes were. Very easy to get what the calls were. Outcomes a whole lot different.
Okay.
I think I'd answer that. What it we're used to with the MedStar system, it could be more of a QA, quality assurance side, but did we give an aspirin to everybody we were supposed to give an aspirin to? Did we treat by our protocols and the times? Did we transmit our EKGs? So there's some patient care things, and you can work on how many survived the cardiac arrest, so there's some, but.
There's also some other metrics.
That's gonna take a bit.
Intubations, how many attempted intubations were there and how many were successful. So there's some small matrices like that, as he said, from an operational standpoint and what we're delivering to the patient. But outcomes is a tough one.
Okay.
So let me add just a little bit there that might clear some of that up. So anything related to the patients themselves, obviously that's HIPAA, and that can't be shared outside of the providers that ran the call. With regard to how our employees are performing and redundancies and checks and balances that are in place to evaluate all of that, when an ambulance crew in Rendon runs an ambulance call, they write a report, right? That report is reviewed by a field training officer on another shift to make sure that it is compliant with the medical protocol our medical director has put in place. We are accountable to the medical director that we're following protocol and that we're treating patients accordingly. We are accountable for making sure those employees are competent with their paramedic skills, IVs, intubations, medication administration, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have those analytics, but just know that there are multiple checks and balances behind the scenes. And if we identify an employee, Chief Brown identifies an employee that's having issues with starting IVs, they're gonna schedule retraining and things of that nature to help improve the employee's performance in that area. Just as we would do with a firefighter if they're not performing fireground tasks the way we want them done. So those checks and balances are in place. The analytics as far as the responses will be the same as the fire side. You'll get those in a collective amount. Some of the other data we'll share with you is the number of patients percentage-wise that are signing an against medical advice and refusing transport to the hospital versus the number we're taking to the hospital every month. We can show you how many times we're going to each hospital in the county, things like that. So there's a lot of data that we can provide that'll come right out of that records management software. But again, our ambulance program's only been in place 3 weeks today, so we don't have any analytics yet.
Understood.
Those are coming your way though. So we'll continue to update you as we get these things put together. But again, I'm hoping by June we'll start to have a little bit of data that I can start putting in front of you and letting you digest kind of how that's going to look every month. And then monthly, as part of the board meeting, part of the presentations at the beginning, we'll provide those stats.
And I assumed it was going to be something aggregated. We had 542 heart attacks and 43% survived, or, you know, something like that. And just so we can define.
Yeah, we can definitely deliver some of the aggregate data, that's for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Chief. And thank you, Chief Florence.
So, Mr. President, I have one more briefing item, and under briefings, we can cover additional items that may come in. I have shared with the board in the past, anytime we got an update from one of our municipalities about an annexation, voluntary annexation of county property that's been pulled into a city. So we received one of those yesterday. I got a phone call about it last week, but the city of Haslett accepted a voluntary annexation of 38 and a half acres located at the corner of Harmon Road and I-35. There is a Toyota dealership that is going in there, and they requested annexation in order to have water and sewer infrastructure available to that business. So that has been completed. It's not anything that we take action on. It's just simply a notification. Good for the city. It's disappointing for us. It's going to have a large service facility, and that certainly would, through the parts and so forth, generate some sales tax revenue. But at the very least, we're aware of it, and the comptroller's office caught it because the city didn't make notification. This was from November of 24. And they got a new city administrator in Haslett, and they reached out wanting to know why they're not getting sales tax revenue from this business. And lo and behold, it was because they had never filed the annexation paperwork with us to make notice to us and provide documentation to the comptroller that they had indeed done that.
So were we getting the revenue, or?
Yes, but we're not accountable back to them for the revenue because it's a requirement that they make the notification first.
Okay.
There's no clawback.
Before they can start accepting that revenue, it has to be seamless. That's why, as you probably noticed, the few times I've brought the annexation paperwork from Fort Worth, it's been very timely. Within just a few weeks of when they did it, we've been notified.
Okay. There's another issue that I want to ask about. This is going to come up more and more and more. And it's my understanding that this board cannot approve those if we have better response time. If until a city or a municipality can at least meet our response times and our service level, this board by law cannot allow the annexation into.
Understood.
Into
That's
city.
correct.
Haslett sounds like they're right there on it, and they're very clearly superior. But I just want to make sure I understand the rules right, that if this happens again and it's closer to us, even if it's for water and power, how do we handle that?
That is going to be a question for legal counsel. My understanding of the rules are in line with what you're saying. And I think when you're talking more about the large tracts of ESD territory that are all together, Rendon, Eagle Mountain, the areas we're dealing with regularly, this is truly an outlier piece of property on the east side of Haslett that is absolutely not closer to us. I spoke earlier about Haslett and Roanoke are two contracts that we likely maintain because of response times. And this is a good move for this business owner in order to have that. So when we face those situations, which we know are coming because some of the residential developments that are going on up in the Eagle Mountain area at some point down the road, it may be well past all of us and our tenures, But those issues are gonna come up for future boards and directors to deal with, absolutely.
If you read the development agreements, the residential, I agree with you. The commercial is day one, and that's where we're gonna get into an issue. The commercial gets, between the developer and the city, they've made the agreement that the commercial would go directly to the city day one, when we're very clearly superior in terms of service level.
Well, we have not shown ourselves to be afraid to have conversations with the city of Fort Worth in the past, and I believe when the time comes to address those, we'll step in the middle of those and get after it. But I'm confident that Ken is very well versed in all of those situations, and that is very specific ESD related legislation. So we'll engage with him when those times come up.
Very good. Okay, if there's nothing else, I will take this board into executive session at 7:31 PM. What?
Do I need to get busy on my office?
No.
Mr. President, if I would give sure is.
I am going to bring this session of the Tarrant County Emergency Services District Number 1 back into session from executive session at 8:07 PM. Do we have anything else to talk about, or can I accept a motion to adjourn?
Motion, move to adjourn.
I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are officially adjourned.
Beautiful.